Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to the Grit, Grace, and Growth podcast, where we share inspirations, ideas, and personal stories to hopefully make your day a little bit better. This is Ken Sines. As always, I'm joined by my good friend, Kim Carroll, and we are here to take you through another episode of the podcast as we welcome yet another wonderful guest. Kim, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing great, Ken. It's good to see you and good to be here.
It is starting to get a little bit nice out. And so I said wonderful a couple of times there in the introduction. It's because I was outside finishing work before we started, and it is wonderful out, and the dog was happy, and life is good right now. I'm normally not the inspirational one of us, but for right now, I'm feeling good. So we should have a good time today.
We are. I'm looking forward to it. The weather is stellar.
Of course, we live in Pittsburgh, so tomorrow it will be 12 degrees and snowing, possibly snowing blood. Our guest today is Olivia McGraw. She is a wealth strategist with Unbridled Wealth. And that right off the bat, I'm very interested to see what all that means, because I would definitely enjoy Unbridled Wealth. Olivia, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
We are really excited to get to know you today, share your story. I obviously doing a little prep work for this. You have some really interesting things to talk about. So I'm very excited to introduce you to our audience and let them know what you're all about. But first, the big, very important question. Olivia, are you a professional wrestling fan?
No, I am not.
Oh, well, see, as we record this, it is the weekend of WrestleMania.
Okay.
Oh,
So as I warned you both, our two truths and a lie will be about WrestleMania.
I was hoping it was going to be Formula One, and then I'd totally win this. But
No, see, I would probably give you all lies. I don't know anything about Formula One. I would say they make a lot of left turns, maybe.
no, that would be Indy.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
not in circles.
so that was the lie then.
Right.
No, see, I'll share with everyone. I've been a wrestling fan for, I just realized, 40 years as of this year. I became a wrestling fan at WrestleMania 2, which was April 7th, 1986.
that's really cool.
And
Who would we know that was there at that?
so the main event of WrestleMania 2 was Hulk Hogan versus King Kong Bundy in a steel cage match.
Yes.
And one of the other main events was Roddy Piper. So you've heard of him, Andre the Giant. All the guys from back in the day were there.
That's awesome.
So see, you do know some stuff. So you're going to breeze through this two truths and a lie with no problem whatsoever.
I got to tell you, Ken, I have actually been to a WrestleMania event one time.
To a wrestling event or to a WrestleMania?
I guess it was a wrestling event. Yeah. It was probably when I was like 18 years old, and I took my sister, and we had so much fun. It was really fun. But I do know those names because on Saturday morning when I was growing up, we would watch WrestleMania. So I know some of the old classics like Hulk Hogan and
I used to watch with my great-grandmother, and she was a big Ric Flair fan.
Okay.
So today's questions will all be centered on WrestleMania 2. So it's not just wrestling.
No.
We're going with a specific. So you guys have gotten everyone right so far. And so I wanted to throw this out there to make sure you have no pre-hand knowledge of the subject whatsoever. But WrestleMania 2, which was one of the biggest events of my childhood up until WrestleMania 3, of course, let's talk about it. Yes?
Am I allowed to Google?
No, that's Olivia, that's what we call cheating.
Okay. Just clarifying the rule. Nobody laid those out for me.
I guess here's the thing. If it's that important for you to win our two truths and a lie, feel free.
No, I'm not naturally competitive. So just
we'll have to talk about that then.
Right. Yeah. Certainly competitive. Yeah.
All right. Number one, WrestleMania 2 was the only WrestleMania not held on a Saturday or Sunday.
Okay.
WrestleMania 2 was the only WrestleMania not held on a Saturday or Sunday. Number two, WrestleMania 2 was actually held in 3 different cities: New York, Los Angeles, and Atlanta. Okay. And finally, the following celebrities appeared in official roles, not just attending, but were officially involved with WrestleMania 2. Joan Rivers, Ray Charles, Mr. T, Ozzy Osbourne, Dick Butkus, Cab Calloway, Elvira, and Clara Where's the Beef Peller. So if any of those people didn't show up, that would be the lie. If it wasn't held in 3 different cities, Los Angeles, New York, and Atlanta, that would be the lie. And if it was not the only WrestleMania held on a Saturday or Sunday, that would be the lie. So one last time. WrestleMania 2 was the only WrestleMania held on a Saturday or Sunday. Number 2, WrestleMania 2 was held in 3 different cities, New York, Los Angeles, and Atlanta. Or number 3, Joan Rivers, Ray Charles, Mr. T, Ozzy Osbourne, Dick Butkus, Cab Calloway, Elvira, and Clara Peller all had official roles at WrestleMania 2. Ladies,
Okay, I have a guess. What do you think,
Talk it out.
Olivia? I'm gonna let you. I'm
Okay.
gonna let you guess first, but I think he may have given the answer away, and I'm gonna circle
Right.
back.
Well,
on
you
that.
know better than I do.
Okay.
But I feel like number 3 was extremely specific, therefore possibly true. I feel like number 1 might also be true, as in it's not the only one that was held on a Saturday and Sunday. My thought was that it was number 2. That's the lie. But tell me your friend better than me.
Didn't he just say that he attended it?
no, he did not.
No,
You did not. You did not
No.
attend it.
No, he would have been 11 at the time
Oh, okay. I thought you said that you. Okay.
and unable to travel to Los Angeles, New York, or Atlanta.
Okay. See, that's where I was thinking
It might be number
that
2.
that you had attended it in Pittsburgh and.
No, I've never
Okay.
been to a WrestleMania. I've been to wrestling, but never a WrestleMania.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I was
Then-
thinking it could have been like only 2 cities. That feels like a good one to scramble where it's slightly true, but not the full truth.
that I'm gonna go with you. I was thinking the second one was the lie. So
Okay. All right.
I am in agreement.
Lock it in.
Let's find out how we did.
All right. Up until about 3 years ago, every WrestleMania had been held on a Sunday, and then they started holding them on both Saturdays and Sundays. It's a 2-day event now. Since WrestleMania 2, which was held on a Monday for some reason.
Ah.
So WrestleMania 2 was held on a Monday, so that is correct. It's the only one not to be held on a weekend.
Interesting.
And that list of celebrities all did appear in an official capacity at WrestleMania. So everyone from Joan Rivers to Ozzy Osbourne to the Where's the Beef Lady. And there were in total 17 different, and I'm putting up air quotes, celebrities at that WrestleMania.
All right.
And they ranged from big names to Herb, who was the only guy who had never had a Whopper in a Burger King commercial. So some of them are very of the time.
Nice.
But you were right. WrestleMania actually was held in 3 different cities for the same event. It was held in New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago, not Atlanta. So even though
Wow.
I tried to give you an out there.
Yeah.
That was
It was,
tricky.
but yeah, the only WrestleMania ever to be held in more than one location. What they did is they had a couple matches at each location and then showed the people on TV everything else from the other locations.
Okay.
Very
we
cool.
did it.
We are still.
So
I
we're
did not
still
break your
undefeated.
record.
100%.
Woo. Okay.
Yeah, the first person who gets this wrong, we're gonna have to make them wear like the badge of shame for the
Yeah.
entire podcast or something.
We'll do the Game of Thrones. Shame.
Yes.
Shame. Shame. So far, we're rocking it. We've got it. So that's awesome.
And who else is rocking it, Kim?
Who's that?
Our sponsor, who has a very important message for us today.
All right.
Great.
Are you ready to step into the spotlight and take the lead of your financial future? It's me, your host, Kim Carroll, and I really hope you've enjoyed listening and are inspired by the stories you hear on my Grit, Grace, Growth podcast. Your stories inspire me every day. If you feel like you've really gotten to know me and you want to find out more and how we can work together, I specialize in guiding individuals, businesses, and families towards their financial goals with personalized advice and holistic strategies. Whether you're planning for retirement, looking to grow your investments, or simply want a clearer roadmap for your financial journey, I'm here to help you every step of the way. Don't wait. Visit www.kimcarrollcrc.com now to learn more and easily schedule a meeting. That's www.kimcarroll.crc.com in order to learn more. Kimberly Carroll offers securities using the following business name: Emeritus Investment Company, LLC, or AIC, member FINRA and SIPC. AIC is not affiliated with Grit, Grace, Growth podcast.
Okay, folks. So we are here with Olivia McGraw. As we mentioned before, she is a wealth strategist with Unbridled Capital. Olivia, what does that mean?
Unbridled wealth. Right.
Unbridled wealth.
Yeah.
Unbridled wealth. I got it right the first time. And I got it right the
That's
second
right.
time.
Yeah, it's okay. So I'm not a full financial planner like Miss Kim, but I am in a very niche area where we teach folks how to set up private banking systems using a very specific form of life insurance. So I joke that this is not your grandparents' form of life insurance. This is not. I know all of the criticisms that are out there regarding this stuff. Like Dave Ramsey is like buy term, invest the difference. It's a waste of money, blah, 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 blah. All of that is based off of half truths. Speaking of two truths of a lie and a lie. And so this is a really specialized area it's a tool that I fell in love with while I was working for Unbridled, which is an event management company. And my husband was actually the one who called me out and saying like, hey, you kind of like this weird thing. And I'm like, no, I don't know. He's like, she loves it. What does she need to do to get licensed? And so most of my career had actually been in the nonprofit space. And so the irony does not escape me that I transitioned from nonprofiting in every sense of that word to unbridled wealth and teaching people how to better steward their finances and create a financial future with some tax advantages involved. I've worked primarily with real estate investors and business owners, mostly because they're the ones who tend to understand cash flow and that this is not a set it, forget it system. This is flow money into a system, pull it right back out and go buy real estate with it. Now you get to make money in two places at one time. I'm personally a very visual person, so this is a difficult thing to communicate with only words exactly what it is, but hopefully there's enough there to just leave it as a teaser. And if someone has questions, they can reach out and find out more information. So,
what I love about that, Olivia, is the fact that you said it's a different world. And in my opinion, it's exactly the same, right? You're serving, when you were in the nonprofit world, you're serving businesses and entities in that level. And now you're serving individuals.
Right.
So there's a lot of parallels, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I can understand exactly why you're doing what you're doing.
Well, what I've found is that it's often people don't like to talk about money. And so you actually enter into a very sacred circle of trust regarding people's finances where they won't necessarily talk about it with family. It's very taboo culturally to talk about it with your friends. And then not only in that space, but you're actually walking through life events with them, whether it's babies or Kim and I just had a really dear friend lose his dad this week, who he's in this industry with us. And it's just the harsh reality of we are dealing literally with life and death and probably touching our mortality more closely than any other profession other than the medical world.
Yep. Indeed.
So I've worked in the nonprofit space for a long time as well. What's that transition like going from nonprofits to very profits?
Right. Yeah. I feel like actually the heart motivation is very similar and not necessarily for everyone. I'm just speaking for myself in that space because genuinely in the way that I'm designing these life insurance policies, I am reducing my personal commission by 90%. So you can't do that authentically without having a pure conviction that this is a tool everyone needs to be using in their lives. And I love that to be able to show my clients, hey, here's what commission is. By the way, do you ask what your realtor made on like the sale of your home? Probably not. I mean, it's disclosed, but do we fuss and fight over their 5 to 8% that they make on their commission? Well, I reduced my commission that I could be earning by 90%, sometimes even more. And so that's where it's just kind of this authentic thing of like, hey, I'm genuinely in this because I love seeing the financial freedom it creates for my clients. I love walking through life with them. And so I found it wasn't that much more of a stretch. And when I reflect more on my life, I'm realizing that in this space, I'm using more of more of my skills. I love that I'm a strategist because that's how my brain works. Like I am forward thinking, future looking, where I have things in mind when I'm designing their policies that my clients are not even paying attention to, including retirement income, where I'm thinking about like, how do we make sure we have tax-free retirement? Great. Let's make sure that we're integrating that into the overall plan, even though our initial design is projecting 5 to 10 years out. So,
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. In my experience, most people come to the nonprofit space one of two ways. They are either a true believer who wanted to go and work and make a difference and save the world,
yeah.
or this was just they ended up here somehow because
Mm.
nonprofits do such a wide variety of things. Every skill type is necessary
Right.
that they become I didn't know where I was going in life, and now I ended up here.
Right.
That's me, just for the record. I'm not insulting those people. I
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
degree. My degrees are communications and leadership, and I've worked in nonprofits for the past decade. And I was
Wow.
never a nonprofity person. I was a very profity person.
Yeah.
So, what was the
Right.
plan originally with you that brought you into that space to set you up for the transition?
Probably a hybrid.
See, you're making a
In
lie around
box,
me
I
right
will
off the
not
bat.
be in it. Right. What's that?
I said everyone's one of these two things. You're like, well, I'm
Right.
not.
No, I'm definitely like I break all kinds of rules. So growing up, I grew up with a faith-based family, but that my mom and dad were, I say, real estate investors and business owners before it was trendy. Back in the 80s and 90s when interest rates were 30% and owning a business was hard. They sold ice cream in Colorado. So literally ice cream Eskimos. and I hated business as a result. I was always so annoyed when my dad sometimes did it on purpose, sometimes did it just by default, but he would cash out the register so it wouldn't tell me the change for the client, I'd say that, the customer. And so I had to do mental math on the spot and count back and figure out how much money to give to somebody because we didn't take credit cards. I'm like, Dad. So I had sworn out business with that. I also was extremely compassionate and passionate about that realm. My first real exposure to poverty, I was a little girl. My parents took my sister and I across a border town into Mexico from Texas. And just walking to the market and seeing real poverty for the first time marked me in a significant way of seeing all these mamas and these little babies begging for money and just going, what in the world is this world? Like I had no idea this existed. And we literally walked over a river and all of a sudden I'm seeing this very different life. And so by the end, I was probably in shock, like shaking and like really distraught. And then we had a good conversation about it. And then on our walk back over, I started to pull out my little, literally plastic baggie full of change to start giving to people and just thinking that like maybe this makes a difference. I never was somebody who had like a career plan or idea of like, this is my perfect life. This is what I want to do. Other friends are like, this is what my wedding's going to look like. I'm like, well, I want to meet my guy first before first things first, friends. Yeah, find the guy you want to marry. And which also makes sense because my husband, he's a graphic designer and he had a lot of opinions about what that wedding would look like. So it's like, all right, well, I have very few. So in terms of the career space, I just more kind of I found that hard because I didn't have that plan, but could give you the elements of what I was searching for. And my youth group, when I was in high school, thanks to my bright idea, decided to go to Africa on a mission trip. And Mexico wasn't extreme enough. I told my youth pastor, I want to go to Africa. And he's like, all right. So we planned a whole trip around that. And we did. 28 of us. How brave were those parents? To
Wow.
one, let your children travel overseas and two, and it was actually a very intense cultural experience. We stayed with host families. We weren't even in a nice hotel. I was with a host family out in more or less rural Kenya, and where elephants were coming at night to eat the sugarcane. And like, I had to go to the toilet in a loo filled with so many spiders. I had to resolve to
Oh.
not look at the walls for the entire 2.5 weeks I was there.
Oh, wow.
Or yeah, it was terrifying.
Yeah.
And then, like from that, I fell in love with it and was like, I'm going to do something in this space. And so I was transitioning into my senior year of high school, and you're trying to figure out what in the world, what kind of career lets you work in that space. That like in terms of school counselors, they have no direction to give you at all. You're like, you're a weird one. I have no idea how to help you. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe I'm going to be a missionary. What's a recipe for a missionary? Probably like nursing, so you can offer something practical to people. And sure, religious studies, biblical studies, something like that. And then I ended up in a military college, which makes perfect sense.
It's so brave, the decisions that you made, Olivia, because I've heard your story and I'm so excited that you're sharing it today because I think
Thank you.
it's really, really cool and wild. And I cannot even imagine living the life that you have lived and going through some of the things that you've gone through. I think as we kind of unravel this onion and share your story, it's like, that's amazing that you've done these things. But even at such a young age, 17, 18, to make that decision of like, this is what I'm going to do. That's really
Yeah.
brave. It's really
Yeah.
brave.
I'm still trying to come to terms with using the spider-filled bathroom. So
Oh man, I got worse stories than that, man.
well, I was going to say, so I normally will pick out something that somebody said, and let's focus on that. Well, we're not going to focus on that one at all, actually. let's let's talk about the Citadel instead.
Okay. Yeah.
As much
that's
as I
good.
don't think I would ever want to go to military college, I would rather do double time on Heartbreak Ridge than use that bathroom that you discussed. So let's try to keep
Right.
everyone in a nice, happy spring day, and not a
Mhm.
terrified crying in the corner kind of day.
Yeah.
How
Well,
do you end up at the
We'll
Citadel?
wrap it up with
right.
yes,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, we'll come back to the spiders. All right, Kim, that's going to find yourself a new host for the show, huh? I'm not. And here's the thing: I'm not even scared of spiders. But as soon as you described that, I thought about the scene in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom where they had to go through the room
Oh
with all
yeah.
the bugs.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
so I always
Yep.
go to the worst case scenario. So now I'm going to be
Right.
off in my unhappy place for a while. But while I'm trying to pull my shattered mind back together, tell us about the Citadel.
Yeah. So anyone not familiar, what I found is that anyone who grew up west of the Mississippi has no idea what I'm talking about. Anyone, and that would be me included because I'm from Colorado. And anyone east of the Mississippi is like, oh, right, I vaguely remember that. And then I'm like, yeah, it's that weird military school that was all male until the late 90s. It had been an all male school for 160 years. And then they let women in. What a great idea. And my reference of that, like I remember seeing on 2020, like the interviews with Shannon Faulkner. And I remember thinking in middle school, why is she trying to ruin it? It's kind of cool that there's like this all boys school. Like I can see the value in that. And she lied down her application to get in. And then she was significantly overweight when she showed up. She lasted a week and checked out. I'm like, what good did you just do? Cool that you made it so other women can go in now. But what a kind of sad way to launch, I guess, and open the door for other women. No intention that, my gosh, that would ever be my story. And I would enter in as it's debatable fifth or sixth class of women. There's one woman, well, Nancy Mace, she's in Congress now, but she was technically the first. She entered in with a classmate, but graduated early and say she's the first. So well done. I'm just like every woman, at least in that first decade, we had to pave our own path. And that was not my idea to go to school there. Again, I had that nice recipe on how to make a missionary and thought that this is what you do. And God's like, great idea. How about you go to prison for 4 years first, though? I was like, what?
Crazy.
Oh, I cried too much. How am I going to do this? But I genuinely, again, just my faith is what led me there and felt like the Lord made it extremely clear that's where I was supposed to go to school. And then I'm like, well, I don't even know what I'm going to study. I only knew about the college because my cousin was a senior at the time. Thankfully, we were separated by 4 years. And so he was not there when I was a cadet, which was helpful for both of us because women were not exactly welcomed nor received nor like integrated. So on paper, we might have been, but in reality, it was very different. But I genuinely fell in love with the school. I learned that I had the kind of personality where if you tell me, like, here's the bar and how high you need to jump, I'm like, great, let me exceed your expectations. And so that's an environment where on one side you can actually really thrive if you're given the parameters. Here's what it means to be a cadet. I joke with Kim about you shine up, show up, shut up. It's like, but what I did not anticipate is that what that meant as a woman and the added pressure and difficulty as a result of being one, that something you have literally no control over. And all of a sudden, that is why you're being discriminated against, hated. I mean, hated, it feels like not even the right word. Loathed would probably be better. Because any way you measure a cadet, I'm there. Like I was on the track and cross country team. I'm athletic. I can outrun the guys. I'm academically, I'm on an honors program. I'm like, my grades are great. We had 4 pillars as cadets. They've changed it to ethical, but it used to be spiritual. Like, my faith is strong. Like, okay, if you're going to measure me by my faith, great. Like, I'm up there too. And then your military, I guess, awareness or strength. My room was immaculate. My uniform's immaculate. Like, every way you measure a cadet, I'm there, but I'm a woman. And so you're going to not like anything I have to say or do because just by nature of that, I'm not worthy. And so that's where significant challenge came in. And you can kind of, freshman year, you can think like, oh, we're all getting yelled at. And then sophomore year, you're like, wait a minute, things are still happening that stopped from my peers. Interesting. Then junior year was absolute hell, if I'm honest, because suddenly I had power positions and rank, and my classmates who did not. And I'm like, well, you don't have the grades, you don't have that, like, you don't have these ways we measure each other. I do, but yet therefore I'm disqualified and clearly I just got this position because I'm a woman, just for show. So no matter what I wanted, every position I had to prove that I had earned that spot, that it hadn't just been given to me. So
It was probably very difficult to earn any kind of respect. That's what I'm hearing. Which, as another woman, I can empathize with that.
I actually just had my 20th reunion, which I did not want to go to, if I'm honest, but I was invited, Kim, to speak on a panel about being a woman in a male-dominated industry, and I thought, ugh, I have no right to go do that if I'm shying away from my reunion. All right, let's go. And what I realized is that experience was actually extremely redemptive, and it was the first time I felt accepted by my peers, where I'd felt that by the classes ahead of me, and I'd felt it by the classes younger than me, but not by my own guys I had gone through 4 years with. And it felt like, okay, enough time's passed. A lot of them don't remember what they said or did. I do. Might have had a little bit of trauma from that one, but
right. Stays with us. Doesn't go away. No. So how did you end up in Africa and Burundi and Rwanda and all of that after school?
Well, my senior year of college, I was attending the Citadel's in Charleston, South Carolina. And I was attending a church that I'd heard this missionary was coming over and I wanted to go hear him talk. It happened to be on a Sunday when I was actually loading up my car with other cadets. And I'm like, hey guys, do you mind going early just to hear this guy speak? And his name was Simon Gilbo. And he was there to talk about a little tiny, tiny corner of the planet that nobody knew about or heard of. Everyone's heard of Rwanda. No one's heard of Burundi. Burundi literally had the exact same genocide as Rwanda, but it was easier to clean up Rwanda than it was for Burundi. And that still remains. But the first thing he said that Sunday morning was, I am not here to get you to go to Burundi. In fact, I don't want you to come. Because at that point, they were still in civil war. And he's like, I don't want you to show up and something happened to you and you're not actually supposed to be there and your blood's on my hands. And genuinely trying to dissuade people from like, no, let's go visit this guy. And I thought, well, that's cool. I wonder how I can go visit him. So maybe it speaks more to like my nature of like and challenge of like, all right.
You're not the person who has to touch the hot pan just to make sure it's hot, are you?
No,
Okay.
I'll believe you, but I'll be curious, like, how can we grab the hot pan and not get burned? So I graduated from the Citadel, yet again, having no idea what I was doing with my life, just having a list. And what's funny is that years later, I found in a journal one page that I had written one night of, I do not know what I'm doing with my life, but here are things that are in my heart that I hope happen. On that list included living and working in Africa, all the way down to joining a rowing team, like crew, we call it, but like a rowing team, other like stuff. And all of those little tiny desires in my heart were fulfilled in 3 years without me intentionally pursuing any single one of them. And so I, soon after graduation, helped coordinate the first team to ever go visit this crazy missionary in the middle of Africa. Turns out the idea of fear is a lot more intense than actually being in that space yourself and realizing, oh, there's not a whole lot to be afraid of. Okay. And I ended up moving so I worked in my church at the time and this little outdoor store at the same time, and then ended up moving to England and joining a rowing team. So that was fulfilled again. I needed a reason to be in England. So I got a master's in international development at the University of Bristol, which is just a expensive degree to tell you why poor countries are poor and that nobody has a great solution to fix it. Then they release you in the world to go try something different. So Olivia's personal thoughts are that small business and microloans are probably the answer. Hands off, let capitalism do its thing, and like empower the people to be heroes of their own lives. Don't just throw money at them. And yeah, anyway, but that's a whole other podcast. But
That's teach a man to fish, right?
right, exactly,
As opposed
absolutely,
to fish for them.
absolutely. Yeah, we tend to, I think, discredit the poor too much and think that they are incapable of their own lives. When we just take one step and just evaluate by the pure nature of being born in this country, the opportunities we have at our hands that others don't. And if you give a little bit of opportunity to someone, they want to bring home food for their families. They want to have the respect and dignity of going to a job every day. They want to be able to create and produce. And what is often lacking are the significant circumstances against them to allow that to actually happen.
I
You get rid of corruption, you get rid of a lot, but that's also
Kim,
part of it.
Kim will tell you I'm far from the most sunshine and lollipops person. But I say all the time when people are complaining about what we would call first world problems, my internet's out, that sort of thing. And even when people just complain in general, I don't think people realize that if you live in the United States in 2026, what the absolute life lottery you've hit in terms of humanity's existence.
Yeah. Yep.
But I don't mean to, but it just, because what you say is so true. We sometimes lose sight of the real problems in the world with our everyday problems.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love for you to, I don't know if this is a great segue or not, but I would love for you to share some of your experiences of living in Africa
Yeah.
and like what you went through and what you experienced and how that has shaped you.
Yeah. Well, I moved there in 2009. And so just if you kind of have, I'm showing you a visual, but if you have the shape of Africa and you threw a dart at what you would say the heart of Africa would be, that is where Burundi is. So just south of Rwanda, in between Congo and Tanzania. And it's just this, I love the places nobody else goes to. I love that it's unknown. We don't have tourism there. We don't have a lot to offer the world. Coffee and tea. You probably know Burundi because of coffee. Coffee has helped put it on the world map, if anything. When I first went, I literally had to convince the flight, or not even the flight. This is dating it a little bit, but I had to 2005, tell a travel agent where it was and what the airport code was. And they were trying to convince me I wanted to go to Burma. And I'm like, no, Burundi, Bujumbura. It takes you 50 hours just to get there. But it's this wild place where a seed can take root and grow, both good and bad. So you can still real progress and for growth of what you're trying to invest in. But my job there was to help a hotel and conference center make money in the country rather than, again, just trying to like throw money at stuff and hope that it works. It's like, how do we create industry here? How do we create jobs? How do we create something that then the profits from that are sustaining themselves? My job ended up being was like something different every single day. I helped coordinate teams of volunteers that came in. I had lengthy discussions about what the trash cans should look like at the hotel. So one example is the head of housekeeping had bought these pink plastic, cheap Chinese imported, but when I say cheap, I mean cheaply made trash cans for the rooms, which as a Westerner, I look at and see tacky to the nth degree. And I'm like, hey, tell me about these trash cans. And they're like, oh, they're very nice and expensive. They're imported from China. And I'm like, what about these gorgeous woven baskets that you all make yourselves out of banana leaves that are amazing? And they're like, oh, those are cheap. They're made here in Burundi. I'm like, yeah, exactly. They're made here in Burundi. Like, why aren't we using these? And just the cultural divide on that of what they see as valuable is something that is imported, and what I see as valuable is something that's made by hand in there, and trying to bridge that gap of understanding of like, all right, I'm holding the trump card, but I'm not going to play it. We need to build consensus here. Like come to an agreement on what our trash can should be. But, who are our clientele? It's going to be the Westerners. They want to see stuff made in this country. They don't want to see something that costs 50 cents to manufacture. If even that, probably 2 cents to manufacture. And they're selling it in country for, I'm not exaggerating, probably $20 because Burundi and Rwanda are the two most expensive countries in the world to ship anything to. There's no railroad systems to get anything there. So that's just one little example. Others are just, there was not, when I lived there was not a single traffic light in the country. And so they'd all been shot out during the war. And so you had to just kind of know who had right of way, which is a little bit of a rite of passage. But I loved it. I loved how life was different every single day. Kim, when you said that we were going to play 2 truths and a lie, I thought I had to come up with my own stuff. So one of my truths is that I owned a pet monkey, which is also one of my life dreams.
That's great. I love that.
What was his name? Or his or her name?
Okay, his name was Pete, and I named him after the president of the country. And my Burundian friends said, "Oh, you cannot do this." And I said, "Oh, but I did." The president's name at the time was Pierre Nkurunziza. And so to make it slightly more discreet, we called our monkey Pete. So
Very cool.
that was
very
fun.
cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
So how long in total were you there in Burundi?
Yeah, about 3 years. Yeah.
Okay. And then was it just your term had expired, or what brought you
No.
what brought you out of Africa then?
An internal crisis
Oh.
of my own. So I had been there for 3 years and effectively had my boss's job for 3 years. My boss had helped build this hotel and conference center. He was British. He had moved actually to Charleston, where I had been on staff at a church over there, and he was coming back with his family. And I just was like, I genuinely don't know if the country's big enough for both of us. Like, what do I do? Like, I'm not going to be your secretary. Like, that's not going to work. I've had your job. And so that was one crisis of like, what am I going to do when you come back? Crisis number 2 was I've been here long enough. I thought I was going to meet my husband here. I do want to be married. He's not here. He's clearly not here. I know every eligible bachelor in this country, and the answer is no. So, as much as I don't want to, I lived outside the US at that point for 5 years. But I was like, I guess it's time to go home, which again is going back into you're looking at the horizon with no vision and no idea where you're going. And so I ended up going to a ministry school in California. And thankfully met my husband in second year. So the plan worked. And we met in second year and then we're married at the beginning of third year. But I was turning 30. It was just like, oh, what am I doing with my life? I do want to have a family. I've done all these fun adventures on my own. It's time to have a vision and a picture that's bigger than me in terms of family life. So yeah.
And is that how you got into working in nonprofits at that point?
Yeah. So again, just in that space, I actually ended up moving back to Colorado to work for Unbridled, running their nonprofit and charity. And all of the Unbridled companies give 20% to charity. And I had the gift of being an executive director without having to raise a single dime because all of our money came from those companies contributing. So I just got to give money away, which was really fun and kind of fun. Great projects and things and programs to start and whatnot. And then learned about this weird financial tool called the infinite banking concept my first month of work. And again, my husband was the one who called me out years later of just like, you really kind of like this weird thing. And I'm like, I don't know. And so I got licensed just for fun, more for referrals, and then accidentally started doing well. I had a very slow transition into doing it full time because COVID hit in the middle of that. And I couldn't just leave the nonprofit while we were serving a lot of people. We were doing a lot of grants for folks who had lost their jobs. And I couldn't just leave in the middle of that. And so helped transition over. And then I've been doing this full time since I guess 2022, beginning of 22. So
tell us a little bit about Unbridled overall.
Yeah.
So people might not understand what they are. And obviously
Yeah.
I came, and then also you talk about this incredible tool. So tell us a little bit about that as well.
Okay.
So tell us about the overall and then the macro.
Okay. All right. So big overview. The company Unbridled itself started, oh gosh, I think in 2001 with this business model that the first 20% are going to go to charity. First 20% of profits go to charity. Second 20% they save for times of famine, quote unquote, or for a rainy day. And they were faithful to reserve 20% of their profits, knowing nothing of what a famine would look like for their industry. The main industry was event management, which is not even a world I knew existed before. So, for example, every year, all the managers of Chipotle get together for a big event. Well, the DNA of this company is why give somebody else money for that? Let's just start our own company. And that way those profits stay internal. And then we have a say and we're the charity, kind of where that money ends up going. And so they started, so event management and then travel agency, transportation agency, unbridled contractors. It became this family of companies. Well, accidentally, we learned that there's actually a Japanese word that describes this, which is called kritsu. And so a kritsu is just that. In Japanese business, often a business will then own the real estate that that business is in, and they will own a banking function or the bank of which they are dealing money with. So everything stays internal. And those businesses benefit from that. So one cool way that they've designed these companies is that they share a lot of internal services. So as the executive director, I was the only employee for I think 5 years. Yeah. And I was able to do that because we had financial services that they just bill for time. If I needed redo our website, I could go to the web development team and they would do that for me and just bill for time. And so it's a real clever way to actually rapid launch businesses where if you're starting your own company, you're like, all right, I need an accountant or a CPA, I need somebody to do my books, I got to get all these other things. Instead, you're consolidating that all into one and just billing for that service. Well, one of those companies ended up becoming Unbridled Wealth when they learned about this tool called the infinite banking concept. And our niche area is specifically designing, it's also called overfunded life insurance, where you design a life insurance policy, not for the death benefit, but for what you call the cash value growth. It's the premium, the money you put into the policy starts to grow and accumulate, and you have access to those same dollars that you just put into the policy, like you do a bank account. Now, when you take money out of your bank account, what happens to your bank balance?
Goes down.
Goes down.
Right. Goes down. Cool.
I thought that
Trick
was
question.
I think both Kim and I thought that was rhetorical for a second.
No. So when you take money out of a life insurance policy, though, the gross amount, the total amount that you've put into that policy continues to grow as if you never took money out of it. And it grows with uninterrupted compounding interest. So similar to people like, oh, it's kind of like my self-directed IRA. Yes, a little bit, but you have way more flexibility in the terms of getting that money back in and repaying it. So this ends up replacing for a lot of folks anything they finance in life. So if you buy a car the average American buys a new car every 7 to 8 years, not me. I drive them until they die. But if you're replacing a car, that is interest. You know, who makes the most money when you buy a car? It is not the car dealership. It is not the salesperson. It is not the car manufacturer. It is the bank who loaned you the money to buy that thing. And so if we are replacing the bank, then you are the one that is effectively recapturing the interest on that payment. And you have grown your money while you paid for your car. Oh, and you didn't pay taxes on that money. Well, that's cool because we stay all within the IRS regulations of all of this and design a policy the right way so that money is liquid and accessible. This is also why you can't go to like your State Farm life insurance, your State Farm insurance carrier and be like, I want a whole life policy. They're going to go cha-ching, and it's a massive payday for them. And it won't be set up the right way. So oftentimes I'm often fixing things that could be set up better, but educating people on one, how do we set up the tool the right way? Two, how do we become a banker and use this policy the right way? And then 3, where is the application and where do you want to pull this money out and go put it to work somewhere else? So.
And now if someone was interested in that, if that's
Right.
not,
Great
because
question.
what's the next step? How would they, what do they do? Where do they
set up a meeting?
Give us the info here.
All right. My email address is omcgraw, OMCGRAW at unbridled, UNBRIDLED wealth, WEALTH at unbridledwealth.com. Or Calendly O McGraw is also how you can reach me. And then there's an education curve. So I like to be heavy on education up front. I'm not one of those folks that I'm like, trust me implicitly and with your money and just trust me, it's going to be okay. It's like, no, I actually want you to sign up for a little bit of financial education.
And So from the Citadel to Africa to the
Right.
nonprofit realm to here, you really enjoy what you're doing right now, and you
Do.
this isn't just a job for you, right?
Absolutely not. Nope. I love the flexibility of it. I actually work from home. Throw in there, I'm also a homeschool mom. So that's a whole other this podcast and bag of tricks. But it lets me be the mom I want to be. It allows me to work with a fun variety of clients. Again, walking through life with people. And every situation is different. This is, if you can't tell, I'm the kind of person who might get bored a little bit easily. So the variety of, like, I love this profession because everyone's situation is different. Like, we might arrive at the same number, but how we got there was two entirely different paths. And so I love the challenge of trying to solve from where you are to where you want to go, and the journey that we take in order to figure out strategy on how to get there. So
What I
hot
love about
today.
you, Olivia, is that you live your passion
Oh,
in
thank you.
everything that you do and everything that you have been through. In my opinion, you've just lived life with passion and have fully experienced the full realm of every emotion that were designed to
Mm,
experience here on this earth. So that's
oh,
inspirational, in my opinion.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Olivia, I feel like we could probably hear stories just from the school days forever,
Yes.
from Africa forever. Unfortunately, we don't. The one thing that no one has an infinite amount of is time. That is the one
Absolutely.
thing that is not unlimited or unbridled. But it
Mhm.
was so wonderful having you here today. Thank you for spending a few minutes with us and sharing what you said. The way you go about it is you make a plan and you kind of execute, which is spoken like a true military school person. But that's, I think, of all the incredible things you told us today, that's maybe the greatest life advice there is.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks for hearing my wild stories.
As I said, I'm sure we could hear more of them.
We might have to have you come back.
Yeah. But for now, thank you so much
Yeah.
for
All
joining
right.
us here
Thank you
today on the
guys.
Good
Have a great
Grace and
day.
Growth podcast.
Uh-huh.
Kim, it's been another fun episode. What do you think?
I think it was great. I'm hoping we've given some folks some inspiration. Go out there, live your lives, enjoy, experience it all.
Any other inspirations you'd like to share today, Kim?
Absolutely. We're going to wrap it with a quote. Today's quote is difficulty calls us to rise up. And in that rising, we learn what we are capable of. That is from Carly Baum. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Ken, to take us out.
Just out of curiosity, do you know who that is, or why they? No, you just
No,
had the question. Sorry, I didn't mean. I thought there was a little bit more to it. I didn't mean to fool you to call you out there. I
I
thought
didn't
you
know
were
I
going to
had to do
blow our
that
minds a
homework.
little bit more. Well, then, on that very professional note, as we are clearly podcasting excellence, we'd like to thank Olivia for joining us today. Would like to especially thank all of you for joining us today. For Kim Carroll, this is Ken Sines, the Good Grace and Growth podcast. Remember, we're not trying to change your life. We're just trying to make it a little bit better.